The history books tell us about tanks, planes, and soldiers. They tell us about D-Days and the Blitz. But the history of the Second World War is also filled with ghosts, not just the fallen, but the ones deliberately created to terrify the enemy. Welcome to Weird World War. Today, we delve into one of the most chilling, and arguably most ridiculous, propaganda plots of the Nazi regime, the Nazi Ghost Army. To understand the Ghost Army, we must first look at the man behind much of the SS's esoteric nonsense, Heinrich Himmler. While Hitler focused on Lebensraum and military might, Himmler was obsessed with mythology, occult history, and the creation of a pure Aryan past. He saw the SS not just as a political army, but as a modern order of Teutonic knights, heirs to a glorious, mythical warrior race. This obsession led to the creation of absurd propaganda campaigns designed not for the masses, but specifically to demoralize and confuse Allied and resistance forces. The core idea was to convince the people of occupied territories, particularly France and the Netherlands, that the SS forces were just men in uniforms, but supernatural entities imbued with ancient, irresistible power. One key element of this plot was the revival of an imaginary, terrifying legend, the Knights of Montoire. In certain parts of France, rumors began to spread, intentionally planted by SS agents. The rumors claimed that a special detachment of SSS, supposedly Himmler's inner guard, were patrolling the ancient roads at night. They didn't wear standard uniforms. They allegedly wore black, medieval-style cloaks and helmets, sometimes riding on horseback. Their faces, the stories went, were either hidden or bore strange, disturbing scars. The objective was simple: tap into local folklore, which often included tales of restless spirits or terrifying nights, and merge it with the very real, very brutal fear of the SS. If an elderly woman believed a German soldier was an actual spectral knight, she was far less likely to harbor a resistance fighter. The plot wasn't limited to soldiers. It extended to their vehicles. In some sectors of Eastern Europe, Himmler's units reportedly attempted to camouflage their movements using bizarre, almost theatrical methods. There are documented, though often fragmented, accounts suggesting that patrols would use white or reflective paint on their vehicles to make them shimmer unnaturally under moonlight or against snowy landscapes, giving the illusion of a ghostly, fast-moving column. Another tactic, used in rural areas, involved deliberately driving without lights but using highly trained spotters, creating the impression of silent, invisible vehicles passing through villages in the dead of night. While this was honnête military deception in the style of the Allies' famous Ghost Army of inflatable tanks, the psychological goal was the same: so total, irrational fear. But the most infamous and ultimately most dangerous attempt to weaponize the supernatural came right at the end of the war with Operation WÜLFEN, or Werewolf. As the Third Reich crumbled, Hitler ordered the formation of a secret guerrilla force. Its members were often fanatic teenagers from the Hitler Youth or disgruntled SS veterans. They were trained to operate behind Allied lines once Germany was occupied, but their propaganda was truly spectral. The werewolves were told they were the unseen defenders of the fatherland. Their attack snipings, sabotage, assassinations were meant to be random, terrifying, and seemingly impossible to prevent. They weren't supposed to be caught. They were supposed to simply appear, strike, and vanish, like actual werewolves returning to the night. Their radio broadcasts and leaflets, issued from hidden transmitters, were chilling. They promised eternal vengeance, haunting the occupiers, and striking from the shadows until every enemy soldier was driven out. The American and British armies treated the threat seriously, constantly fearing a stab in the back from these ghostly partisans. So, how effective was this ghost army propaganda? Militarily, it was a spectacular failure. The werewolf attacks were sporadic and uncoordinated, never seriously hindering the Allied advance. The Knights of Montoire were seen by most resistance fighters as an embarrassing theatrical display, not a genuine supernatural threat. The German High Command itself often ignored Himmler's bizarre campaigns, viewing them as a waste of resources. However, on a personal level, the fear was very real. Eyewitness accounts from occupied Europe speak to the terror of not knowing what the SS was going to do next. The Nazis exploited the oldest human fears, the fear of the dark, the fear of the unknown, the fear of the mythical, to wage a psychological war alongside the conventional one. The Nazi Ghost Army ultimately proved that tanks and soldiers are what win a war, not manufactured myths. But it serves as a bizarre footnote in the history of World War II, reminding us how far a totalitarian regime will go to control the minds, not just the territories, of the people they occupy. It was a war fought not just on battlefields, but in the realm of nightmare. What do you think? Were these psychological operations completely ineffective? Or did they genuinely terrify the populations? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into the strangest, weirdest parts of World War I and II, hit that like button and subscribe to Weird World War.